The war in Ukraine with Russia is a bit of a cluster, to put it mildly. When it comes to money right now, in the last 9 months, we are sending $91.3 billion, which is 33% more than the Russian total military spending of the year. And is this money being accounted for? Absolutely not. Because why ask? Because when you ask, well, you're basically a Putin supporter. You're pro-Putin. And then we woke up early this week and we found out that maybe Russia had attacked Poland and killed 2 people. And then you saw more information being passed along about it being blamed on Russia. And then you saw a bunch of corporate media shills just running around saying, hey, well, this is World War III. I guess we'll send our American troops there because we might as well, because we're basically funding this war anyways. And we're sending all our equipment there anyway. So it's ready to go. And I'm 9 years old on TV right now. What do I need to fear? I have nothing to fear. Just send your children for me. We woke up on Wednesday with Poland saying early Wednesday that Russia had a Russian-made military missile that fell in the country's east, killing 2 people. Though United States President Joe Biden, of course, said that it was unlikely fired from Russia. So it begged the question of what was going on. See, I wish people would just be more truthful in our news. I wish our politicians were actually cared about our truth and actually liked telling us the truth, because then I think we would be a less anxious culture, a less anxious society. We would trust our institutions more, trust our elections more, and in turn, you would have better citizens. But instead, our government, just like many other governments, but nobody does it better than ours, push propaganda and push narratives and messages that aren't necessarily true in order for them to give you a false sense of security, which after a while people get used to the lies and get annoyed with the lies, and then they start to feel like they're being lied to, and now they don't trust you. And they're like, well, why don't you trust the institutions? Oh, because of you. It's like a father constantly telling his son, I'm going to be there for your game. I swear to God, I will be there, and then never showing up. After a while, you stop thinking he's going to show up. Thomas Jefferson once said, the honesty is the first chapter in the book of wisdom. And nobody is pushing honesty more than Zelenskyy, even tweeting this yesterday. Had a call with the president of Poland, expressed condolences over the death of Polish citizens from Russia missile terror. We exchanged available information and we're clarifying all the facts. And it comes out and it turns out that, Actually, this is a Ukrainian missile. Ergo, we probably funded it. So we have Ukraine hitting a NATO country that we're backing fully with the American dollar. And then we had this today where we have Secretary Austin, who is just a peach, comes out and says this, okay? And pay attention to the wording very carefully. Because instead of just blaming Ukraine, who does he blame? Who does he go after? Because it's more important than to tell you the facts. It's more important to control the message.
We're still gathering information, but we have seen nothing that contradicts President Duda's preliminary assessment that this explosion was most likely the result of a Ukrainian air defense missile that unfortunately landed in Poland. And whatever the final conclusions may be, the world knows that Russia bears ultimate responsibility for this incident. Russia launched another barrage of missiles against Ukraine, specifically intended to target Ukraine's civilian infrastructure. This tragic and troubling incident is yet another reminder of the recklessness of Russia's war of choice.
So the message out of the White House is that Russia bears ultimately responsibility. Because in the end, no matter what you do, even if you do things well, as long as you're the enemy of the day, the enemy of the state, the one in which the powers that be fix their eyes upon, saying you are the evil one, you are to blame no matter what. Adolf Hitler once said, the receptivity of the masses is very limited. Their intelligence is small. He's talking to you. And that's what our leaders think of you. But their power of forgetting is enormous. They are expecting you to forget COVID-19, everything that happened during lockdowns, and also, once this war ends, if it ever ends, you forget about all the money we sent and, maybe Ukraine killing people. These are all things that you must forget and just move on and know that the government is for your best interest. They're here to serve you. Hitler continues. In consequence of these facts, all effective propaganda must be limited to a very few points. So like narrative. So like when you hear the same words repeated over and over again, like pro-Putin or Putin shield or a spy at Putin or whatever, they just say these over and over again without having to back up information so that you remember at the end of the day that no matter what happens in Ukraine, even if Ukraine goes and kills 100 Polish people, ultimately it's Russia's fault. Propaganda must be limited to a very few points and must harp on these slogans until the last member of the public understands. So they're going to continue to say the same things over and over again because it's more important about the messaging than telling the truth and then getting down to the bottom of details. Just like when we ask, so are we going to find out how COVID-19 got started and how the whole economy locked down and how our elections completely changed due to COVID and all that kind of stuff? No, thanks. I don't want to get down to that kind of information. We're done. We're moving on. Remember, you're meant to forget. It's all about COVID amnesty. And this is the same. Effective propaganda must be limited to a few points and must harp on these slogans until the last member of the public understands what you want him to understand by your slogan. So it's not necessarily important to just say the slogan, build back better, make America great. You must continue to say it over and over again until people understand what that even means. And if someone wants to take another slogan, they will critique it and even lie about that slogan over and over again in order for you to best understand. And why do I say this? Because my podcast, my entire podcast is just a representation, is just showing you that the government is not your friend. The government is going to lie to you. The government is not going to tell you the truth. There are too many people running around today that are just like, oh, well, I just trust these institutions. And you're basically a conspiracy theorist if you say otherwise. To some degree, I would say if you trust the government wholeheartedly, you're a conspiracy theorist because you don't know what's going on. You don't have a good memory. As Hitler says, the masses, their power of forgetting is enormous. The government will continue to lie to you because they know that you will forget. They know that you won't remember. Why? Because you have a family, you have kids, you have a business, you have things to look after, and that's more important than whatever crap they're doing behind the scenes. I wish people would wake up and understand this, that Republicans are not your friends. Democrats are not your friends. The president is not your friend. I'm not your friend. I try to not be a propagandist. I try to do my best to give you the truth and be honest as humanly possible. No one's telling me to say this. But our politicians will lie to you, even the ones that you think are the best, because it's more important to have the message correct. Propaganda is everywhere. And until we finally realize that propaganda is in all our news, that the biases is in all our news and all our podcasts, and then we start to just take things with a grain of salt and look up information for ourselves, the better we'll become. And the more effective of a voting class we will become. It's because we'll go to the voting booths with knowledge rather than just over-emotional language and I'm not going to vote for this person because they're a Nazi, because they're pro-Putin. Have a great day. I hope you enjoy your day. I hope this was beneficial in some degree. I know I try to be as positive as possible, but I think it's just another reminder of just how insane our government is and how they will just take any truth and spin it to the propaganda that fits their narrative of the day, of the message, because the message is more important than the truth in their eyes. Have a great day. And always, tell your friends and family about the Derek O'Shea Show. I love every single one of you. Bye-bye.